What's going on today, Internet? Selfish here with RetroSpecd, and today we're going to take a look at the Powkiddy Q90. And this device has been out for a couple of years, and it's gotten a lot of community support. So we're going to look at some custom firmware options for this bad boy, as well as just how it performs overall. Come along for the ride.
RetroSpecd.
My doorbell rang today, and wouldn't you know, it was the mailman dropping off this device. We do have a Powkiddy Q90. This device is very similar to the V90, and they can actually share software. So I thought we would take an opportunity to take a look at that and see how it works, as well as just take a look at the overall device itself. Very similar. I'll put the specs up here in a little bit. As you can see on the outside of the box, it's showing you kind of where everything goes. Pretty cool. This is an open source device. The community's had a lot of time to play with it. It can use the same Miyoo software as the V90, but it can also use a different Miyoo software for the Pocket Go, because this is more or less a clone of the original Pocket Go 1. All right, let's take a look inside the box, shall we? All right, we got our safety card here telling us to make sure that we power the device off fully through the menus prior to using the switch. Otherwise, they get stuck on. It's kind of like this weird limbo mode, and it screws up your memory cards. It makes you keep adding and rebooting them and things. Really? This thing's really that stuck in there? We got a Type-C cable down here, and some instructions, and some Q90 stuff here, and what have not. I can't read this. Okay, and this thing. We got some word paper here. Awesome. Let's take a look. I'm excited. When I first was going to take a look at this device, I wasn't super stoked about it until I did a little homework, and I was like, you know what? This actually might be kind of cool. Now, I did want a clear one. Most of the time you see these, and they are Nintendo Switch green, so this is actually a bootleg Nintendo Switch. Is kind of how this was promoted for a long time. But this came out at the beginning of the micro days. So when the Miyoo Mini and things like Ambernick and everybody had devices coming out in this more micro style. Now, I do believe this will have the same open source software that the Powkiddy V90 had, which is still one of my favorite devices. I love this thing. It is so cool. Little flip that got a lot of community support, including PlayStation support. That same support should still work on this device as well, as far as using the configurations to be able to play games like PlayStation. So yep, it looks exactly the same. So instead of playing around with this, I actually just finished loading up a memory card for the Pocket Go version of this operating system. So I think we're going to check that out, since we already know what the V90 one looks like. If you don't know what it looks like, I'll put a link down there in my thingamabob, next to all the links for the products in this video, so you can go check it out. And by doing that, also you'll figure out how to do the software update. I'll have links to that stuff as well, but if you want to see a more directional way to do it, that'll be in there as well. Before we start playing some games, let's go over the specs real quick. The operating system is an open sourced operating system. You'll see that we'll put on multiple operating systems. They'll all work just fine on here. There's a 3.0 full view IPS hard screen. I don't know why they call it a hard screen. Its resolution is 320 by 240. It's running an ARM 9 CPU. It's a 1C100S at 700 megahertz. 32 megabytes of RAM, 16 gigs of internal storage. Running a USB Type-C for charging. 1500 milliamp battery, which gives you about 6 hours of play after a 2.5 hour charge. Then it is using a 5-volt charger. So now we'll take a look at some games here. So here we have the custom Miyoo firmware, which I honestly think is the only way to go with these devices. Just makes them work so much better. They also do come with games, which is kind of neat. They have a game category with some ports and things like that in here. But I just like the way that these menus work, and as well as the emulators that are in them, make them a little bit more powerful. I think the first thing that we're going to try playing is going to be Game Boy Advance. And the reason being is this is almost the same size as a Game Boy Advance screen, but it's not quite there. In fact, before we even go into that, let's go through the I/O on the device real quick. And let me shut it down correctly this time so it doesn't take so long next time. We'll start up here at the top like we always do. We have a USB-C hole for your USB-C charger. We also have our left and right shoulder buttons. We do not have L2 or R2. We just have L1, R1 on this. And for the games that this will play, that will be more than enough buttons that we need. On the back here, we do actually have two stereo 1-watt speakers, as well as a removable battery. So that's kind of neat. It's right there. You've got full access to it, which means that this system will have a little bit more longevity because you're able to replace the batteries on them. On the right-hand side here, we do have a volume knob. These micro devices, for the most part, have come with volume knobs, which is really nice. Over here on this side, we do have that power button that's infamous. Make sure it is powered off, but make sure you power off the software first before you turn off the power. It's kind of like if you drive a turbo car and you need to let the turbo spool down. Same idea. Sort of. Not really. Down here, we have our 355 hole. We also have our USB hole, which I did just switch cards in here to the Pocket Go version of Miyoo. We have our volume down and up buttons. We have our D-pad, which is a little weird. You can actually kind of move it around in here, which just seems weird to me, but we'll see how it plays. It'll probably play just fine. We do have a single PSP Vita-style joystick. I don't know what you'd use this for, because this device doesn't support PSP play, so I'm not sure why that's there, unless there were some hopes and dreams that this would be able to play PSP. We do have our face buttons on this side. Same spot that you'd expect them. I do like that they moved them a little bit more centered. So instead of being all the way up or all the way down, they're kind of more in the middle. It's a good spot for them. I guess they are directly across from the D-pad, which is also more centered, which makes the joystick make even less sense. But hey, who am I to judge? We do have start and select right here too. All right, back into it. So I'm only going to play a couple games because there's plenty of videos of people out there playing games on this. I more or less just wanted to kind of show off that you can put this software on here. I'm working on a couple other devices right now and happen to come across this one as one that I could put software on. So I was like, I kind of want to do that. Let's go Game Boy Advance. So this screen is just slightly shorter than the Game Boy Advance screen, but for the most part, it is the same. I did copy part of my file directory off of my V90 just so that I knew that I had games on here that work pretty good with these devices. I don't think I've ever played Spyro in one of these videos before. In fact, I haven't played Spyro in a long time, so let's give this a shot. Selected in your minus volume button are your game menu. Forgot to say that earlier, so that way you guys kind of know. You know, one thing this thing does have is massively wide bezels, because this isn't even playing any open screen. This is literally just to bezels. The top has a little gap. And like I said, it's almost the same size as the Game Boy Advance screen, but just a little bit taller on this 3-inch screen. Can I put this fire out? I got water. Very, very strong fire. I haven't played Spyro in probably 15 years. What did I do? Put it in power save, didn't I? So this is Mario Kart under Game Boy Advanced. I feel like that would be a good system to play on here, and I have been on this hunt to find a Game Boy Advance. Again, the screen is a little tall for it, but you really can't tell that part. It's kind of hard to tell with the way the bezels are. They're so thick anyways. These bezels are thicker than my nerdy eyebrows in high school. Pretty soon they're just going to grow together like mine did before somebody tells me that I need to trim them. Why did they put such a thick bezel on here? I would imagine that Sega will work really well on here, so we'll try... Oh, I don't have anything on Mega Drive. Oops. Never mind. The last thing I want to try out here is just to see if this thing can play a PlayStation game. We're going to try Tekken 3. Because why not? It seems to be the one that fails. It's kind of a high medium as far as performance goes, what the chip would need. And for some reason, most systems seem to fail it in this genre. Now, I haven't changed anything on here, so you can change a lot of settings and things too. But I am running the config file, and I'm not sure if this game is on the top 100, but if it is, I do have the config file in here. No, it's going way too slow. There's no way. Oh, knocking me off my high heels. Try something else. We could go through and change all this stuff right now, but I'll do that later. I just wanted to kind of get in here and play this a little bit. We'll see if Crash Bandicoot's a total failure. And no, I'm not playing God of War today. I don't think. Pretty sure it's not on this card. Kind of wondering if these games would play better if I didn't use the Pocket software. If I used the software for the V90. Yeah, this is really glitchy. I'm going to try something though. I'm going to try running the other software on here and see if any of these games get better. We'll just check out Tekken, because if that works, this will obviously work. So hold on real quick. Card off. Swappy cards. I'm not sure how different the builds are, so we're going to find out. Because those games play just fine on the V90. Assume this is at the top. So I switched cards with the V90, which is running the Miyoo software for the V90 and Q90, where I was trying to run the software for the Q90 and the Pocket Go. I'm going to see if this is any better. It's a little faster. Not much. Oh yeah, no, we're good. So I guess if you're going to play PlayStation, I would recommend probably running the software for the V90 and Q90. There is going to be, again, a link down on my thingamabob. Yeah, this plays pretty normal. We're running between 85 and 100, well, 85 and 92 frames per second, pretty much. Staying pretty consistent within a few frames a second, so this is a lot better experience. The other one was just jumping all over the place. If you're going to do this firmware swap, and I would recommend if you're going to play PlayStation, just based off of this slow little bit of testing I'm doing right here, would be to use the one that's for the V90 and Q90, and not the one that's for the Pocket Go and Q90. that would just be my recommendation. I've had a couple handhelds recently where this struggled, so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to try some Ridge Racer real quick. If it holds true and it actually works here, then I'd say that this would be my recommendation. Looks like it's holding a pretty steady frame rate for the most part. This joystick isn't that bad, actually. It's almost like, for a game like this, better than a Hall Effect one because it's not so sloppy. You actually have to put some pressure on it to make it move. Feels a little bit more like you're into the game. This must have a vibration motor in it because I just vibrated. I was not aware of that. So it seems like it's holding a pretty steady frame rate, which is really the more important thing with frame rates. It's not really how fast I mean, you want it to be somewhat fast, but the speed isn't as important as the stability for the most part. It's bouncing a little bit now, but I can't even tell playing, so I think we're good. I wouldn't say I would buy this to play PlayStation on, but it will do pretty well with PlayStation. Since the games that I played are some of the more interesting games to play on here, I would say that you probably have about a third of the games will play just fine. The rest might struggle a bit. As long as you're okay with consistent frame rate versus needing your frame rate to be up high, I think you'll be fine. It's a really interesting device. I don't know that I would take this over my V90, to be honest. This is one of my top 3 favorite devices right now, and it has been since the day I picked it up. Just this form factor and the ability to play games with a flip. You really don't have to worry about your pocket. You wouldn't have to worry about that with this either. There's nothing protruding or sticking out, especially since they took off the L2 and R2 buttons. But this does still have those on there, which are nice for hotkeys, if nothing else, when you're playing. It's also a little bit more comfortable, and it doesn't have a random joystick. I also prefer my speakers to be on the front, which they are on this device, where out here, even though you do have these 2 speakers back here, they are pushing all the audio to the back. They're really there for everybody else and not for you. Unless you're playing on a table like I am right now, then, you know, it kind of works because it bounces right back into your face. I think it's a really good device. For the price, you really can't beat it. You're going to see maybe the SF2000 in the same price range because those have been going up a little bit. But you can find these between $30 and $40, and I'll put a couple links down on my thingamabob for these, and also for the V90, if you want to take a look at them. Even with the couple of years old that it is, it actually performs very well for its age. These chipsets, though, haven't changed a whole lot, which is the unfortunate part of this business, but we are starting to see some changes, but we usually see about the same 3 or 4 chipsets in every single device. It is kind of a breath of fresh air, though, knowing that they can still hold up after this long, which means you are going to have some more longevity with the device itself. But anyways, that's all I got for you today. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe, and share this video with your friends, because sharing helps grow the channel, and my wife says I'm more of a grower than a shower, and I can use all the help that I can get. Thanks for watching.
RetroSpecd.
Hey, thanks for sticking around this long. If you want to, and you haven't done it already, there's a subscribe button floating around the screen up here. I'd appreciate it if you did. If you don't, that's okay. But if you do, you'll get more content like this right there on your homepage. Also, if you're bored, there's a couple videos up here you might like. Thanks for watching. I'm out.